so, which is what's quite weird, I guess, then, that a film which, in many ways, well, not started, but sort of codified the film noir genre, film noir genre, the film noir genre, then within just over a decade was sort of taking the piss out of it. That was weird. And co-written by Truman Capote of all people, Scott. So let's talk about Beat the Devil, which I'll admit I had never heard of until we're preparing for these couple of podcasts.
Yes, me too. But with Beat the Devil and with Humphrey Bogart in front of the camera, here is Billy Danruther, a formerly rich man now working well beneath his station, and John Huston behind the camera. And as you say, a script co-authored by Truman Capote. There's surely no way that Beat the Devil could go wrong. Is there? Well, I suppose the fact that, be honest, you've never heard of it before now, and apparently the studios did not think it was worth renewing the copyright on, maybe something did go wrong, but let's find out. At any rate, Dan Ruther is part of a loose confederation of other Houston regulars stuck in an Italian port, waiting for the departure of the SS Nyanga, their ride to British East Africa, where they hope to strike it rich buying land laden with uranium. Again, further support for the Houston career as travel expenses theory.
Thank you.
His uneasy bedfellows are Robert Morley's Peterson, Peter Lorre's Julius O'Hara, Ivor Bernard's Major Jack Ross, and Marco Tulli's Ravello. All fine character actors, rather underserved with characters of their own, so must make do with carrying theirs over from previous films. Also waiting are Dan Ruther's wife, Maria, Gina Lollobrigida, and an English couple, Harry and Gwendolyn Chelm, Edward Underdown and Jennifer Jones, who rather give the impression of being part of the landed gentry, although, as you might imagine in this sort of thing, no one is quite what they seem. The four seem to get on well, and indeed Billy soon starts an affair with Gwendolyn at more or less the same time that Maria and Harry start their own affair. After a strangely pointless diversion involving a car crash, and the others mistakenly thinking that Billy and Peterson are dead, the ship is finally ready for departure. However, in the constrained confines of the cabins, tensions rise and tempers fray, particularly after Harry finds out and threatens to expose the scheme. Now, I'm not sure quite how much of a scandal that would really be, seeing as it appears to be to legally buy some land with money. But at any rate, it's enough for Peterson to want Harry killed, although it appears that the dilapidated boat wants them all dead, causing them to abandon ship, wash ashore, and wind up in an Arab jail as things fall further apart. Now, despite the undoubted bona fides of the writing team for this, let's politely say that story is not the strongest card in Beat the Devil's deck. Thankfully, given the nature of this beast, it needs to be enough to hang a loose parody from, and also some solid gags from. Although it hasn't managed to do that last part, which is maybe the biggest problem that the film has. There's some positives in here to be sure, mainly a talented ensemble cast that, although wildly underserved by the script, have enough charisma to keep this engaging and enough to forgive the rather broadly sketched characters and gags. And while watching it, I didn't find it boring or insulting. However, when writing about it for these notes, I'm not sure there's all that much to hear that I'd want to praise or indeed recommend. It's by no means awful, but even if it's freely available on archive.org, I'm not sure it's really worth your time for all but the Huston or Bogart completionists. Yeah, it just did not do a lot for me. I felt it should be funnier if that's what they're really going for. A lot of it kind of felt like, when I got to the end of it, it's almost like they wrote an entire script of this and then went, oh, this isn't actually very good at all. Let's tweak a few bits and try and make it funny, like having one of the Italian crew members come in and say, oh, there's lots of bad characters around, like mine. Ooh, lampshade hanging. But it just isn't funny enough to be the kind of satire that I think it needs to be if it's going to go for this. And it's not sort of competent enough for the kind of film noir type stuff for that to work either. So it's kind of falling between those two stools and not really doing a great deal for anyone. I can kind of see, I'm sure that it'll fall in the sweet spot for some people who will, really latch onto it and really like it, but I think for broader audiences, kind of forgetting about it is perhaps the best medicine for it.
I really liked it. I actually thought it was really quite funny. I'm not convinced it works particularly well as a satire. Well, actually, I haven't said that. No, maybe it does. Because it's got a lot of the same things, but it's just sort of
dumb.
I guess it's more of an absurd take rather than a satirical take necessarily.
Yeah.
Because you've got the idea of like the untrustworthy woman who's like causing people to be in trouble. But in this case, it's just this mad woman who's making up all these mental stories for like why not?
Yes.
And I found that I was quite tickled by that. And then the other little thing is like kind of it's a sort of play on the perception of the actor as well, though. But with Peter Lorre decided for some reason that he's called O'Hara, and the Italian guy in the party insisted on referring to him as O'Horror.
Yeah.
And that their party is absolutely a reference to the Maltese Falcon with the fat man Robert Morley, and then you've got Peter Lorre, and then the creepy little racist bugger.
Yes.
He was an unpleasant character.
Yes, I wasn't really expecting a Hitler apologist in this film, but that's cool, I guess.
That's the thing I was going to mention, Scott. This film genuinely shocked me. So I was laughing in that sort of awkward way, which I think is probably the intention, but it was more like it was the words that he was coming out with. At the time, it's less than a decade after the end of World War II, and you have this character saying, and I quote, "Hitler had the right idea. Keep them in their place. Say what you want about Hitler. He had the right idea. Hitler and Mussolini, those were the men." And like, it's kind of like, it's so inappropriate, and it's kind of, it shocked me and it made me laugh. That kind of, I say that sort of awkward way. I'm sure that's the point, but I was like, in a 1953 film, really? Wow. I did not expect that. He's not meant to be a likeable character or a hero or anything like that. He's a creepy
Too
bugger.
soon.
Yeah, that was weird. And then there's bits there that I couldn't decide if they were meant to be a joke or not. I think a lot of people might have, but like Peter Lorre said here, a lot of German people take the name O'Hara in Chile. It's a completely normal name, but at the same point, like, one of the most famous Chileans in history is called Bernardo O'Higgins. He was during the kind of Simon Bolivar's time, the fight to free Latin America from Spanish rule. There was a Chilean called Bernardo O'Higgins, whose father was an Irishman. Like the name Bernardo O'Higgins really amuses me, but like, so it's real and he was Chilean. So like, is that a reference to that? A bit weird if it was, but again, it's like, it's only sort of half a joke. So I was a wee bit unsure about that, but yeah, I just find it funny. Not fantastically so. Not sure it works that well as a satire. I just found it entertaining, and again, a lot of that's probably Humphrey Bogart. I just think he's great.
Yeah.
Again, it's like the third time at least on this on our podcast I've said that I could watch Humphrey Bogart in anything. He's so entertaining.
Yeah.
Although there's one point, and again, that's something I've said a lot too. There's a point where he's joking about, like if I was like 60 years old or something, like, are you not?
Yeah.
Okay. I can't tell your age at all, sir. Other like strange sort of things that really added into the film. The only problems I had was like Jennifer Jones, who's not English, who sounds English for about 10% of the time, and the rest is some sort of sliding scale between English and Oklahoma, which is I think where she's from.
Yeah.
So that's that was weird. There's no particular reason for that character to be English, I guess. The husband, yeah, not her, but
Yeah.
it's a slight thing, but I still quite enjoyed it. Whether it's worth watching again, unless you're a completionist, probably not.
Well, I mean, as I say, the good news is it's completely free. Copyright's expired. Go nuts. Take it, download it, remix it.
Did you watch then the original version, the one that's been available for quite a few years? Did it have a voiceover?
I did not watch. I believe there was a 4K restoration done 5 years ago or something, relatively recently. But no, it was not that one. It was one of the more original kind of versions of it.
Yeah, 'cause I was wondering this because I watched the restoration and it looked fantastic, which is nice given they shot a large part of it in southern Italy, which is beautiful. So, and again, really proves your thesis, Scott. But yeah, I was just wondering because I know that it'd been like that's the version with the 2 minutes less, and like the voiceover has been the only version people have seen for years. Whereas I watched the restoration with no voiceover, and I'm wondering whether that would have changed my opinion. Because I just don't like them.
Yes, I don't remember it being particularly voiceover heavy, so I don't think it made a lot of difference. But 4K is better than not 4K. So if you get a chance to watch the restoration, I guess that's probably the way to go. But
yeah, I mean, it did look lovely, but again, it's for the time and resources for that film. It's weird that that's the film they spent time and resources of this 4K restoration on, when there are so many films out there that are probably in dire need of it, that are, you know, better or more interesting or more important. Again, absolutely not a bad film. Thoroughly enjoyed it, but it's just, I was really puzzled as to why it's that film.
Yeah.
It got that treatment. A film that's sort of, and maybe because it was in the public domain, but largely fallen out of public knowledge. I think it's very much a specialist knowledge type film.
Yeah, yeah.
Not that, you know, you should only preserve or restore like the most popular films, not by any means, but it's just like, of all the films, why that one? It's like basically fallen down the great cultural memory hole, I'm sure.
Look, if Robinson Crusoe on Mars can be can go to the Criterion Collection, then anything's fair game.
Although, yeah, I mean, the Criterion Collection selection criteria sometimes concerns me. And by sometimes, I mean always.
Yes.